Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin, a reminder of a simple sunnah that we can all fulfill today, inshallah, without major difficulty, except for the elderly and the infirm. Please fill from the front because of your love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not because I'm telling you, but because you love Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brother Ja'far, can you please move forward? Jazakumullah khairan. Allah reward us, resurrect us in the company of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who knows which deed Allah will accept on the day of Qiyamah. Bismillah wa bihi badina, wa law abadna khayrahu shakina, fa habada rabbu habadina. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, kullu ma dhakuru dhakirun, wa salli ala Muhammad, kullu ma ghafla an dhikril ghafilun. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم بارك لنا في شامنا وفي يمننا. رواه البخاري. I had hoped that the topic of Palestine would have been dealt with last week so that I don't have to deal with it. I apologize beforehand that my talk will be a bit disjointed, in that in fact we're touching a little bit on what should actually be like 5-6 different topics, but if we leave at 2 o'clock, Sheikh Ibrahim will deal with me, so I can't give 6 topics in full as it should be, so just forgive the haphazard way that we'll talk. Unfortunately, is our circumstances. I will not deal specifically on current situations. We all have Google, we all have access to news. You're welcome to research yourself what is currently happening. People want to go into more depths. There are very capable ulama like Mullah Ibrahim Musa of Radio Islam. He's even written a book. Contact him. There will be libraries of information available on that. So I will not touch on that, except one little point that I would like to differ with when our Muslims like to compare and say that apartheid is occurring in Palestine just like it used to occur here. I strongly disagree with that. If you look on the facts of the situation, and if you ask those who went through apartheid in South Africa, what the Palestinians go through is far, far worse. It is impossible to compare their daily lives. Up till today, they are still being kicked out of their houses. Up till today, their livelihoods are destroyed. Up till today, their children are arrested for no reason. Petty things, like you have different license plates for Palestinians and different license plates for Jews. Things like that never happen in South Africa. They're on a completely different level. So when they make this comparison with South Africa, I disagree. We did not go through 1/10 of what the Palestinians are going through. From an Islamic perspective, our minds have also, not just our lands, but our minds have been colonialized and conquered by the kuffar in so many ways that so many basics understanding of Islam is completely lost to us. So while we're familiar with the term of Palestine, an Islamic concept, the hadith I recited, the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma barik lana fi shamina. O Allah, grant us your barakah, your blessings, your goodness in this land of Sham. Sham, loosely translated as Syria, but in Islam has a very special meaning. That not only in Islam, but historically, Syria did not mean what we call today that small little country called Syria, but it included also what we call Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, and a little bit more surrounding. All these are creations of the colonialists. So There is so much in Quran and Hadith about Sham that we completely lost track of our heritage. This is Al-Ard al-Mubarakah, the blessed land in Islam, in our Quran and Hadith. That we completely lost our link with that. What is meant by this land that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah blessed? Starting off with the people. If you take all the prophets that Allah sent in the history of mankind, from Adam alayhi salam to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah sent prophets to every nation. But overwhelmingly outstripping in the sheer number, Allah sent the overwhelming majority of prophets to the land of Sham. It is so blessed in the eyes of Allah. The ulama of Sham in so many ways outstripped the rest of the world. Names that I hope, inshallah, we are familiar with, just as we are familiar with people who kick balls for English soccer. People like Imam Nawawi, rahmatullah alayh, Ibn Kathir, rahmatullah alayh, Ibn Hajar Asqalani, rahmatullah alayh, Imam Shafi'i, rahmatullah alayh. All these people came from the blessed land of Sham. This is Sham's contribution of people. Until Qiyamah, this process will continue. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions in a hadith about the Abdal. Abdal means replaces. Why is this? What is this? It is a special category of awliya, the saints of Allah, that Allah keeps mainly in the land of Sham, a very, very high category of awliya. And they're called Abdal, the replacements, the substitutes, because as soon as one dies, Allah immediately replaces them with a new one. The number is kept constant. And these people will be the core group, the elite. When the Mahdi comes, they will be the core of his army. Allah has given the special status to the people of Sham that they are selected to be the core of the army of Mahdi. Not us South Africans. Maybe if any South Africans make it, you will be in the cooking department of the Mahdi, or something like that. As for armies, Allah knows best. Barakah, Allah's blessings in Sham for the people. Not just the people, but in the land itself there is such barakah that Allah has not given elsewhere. And this gives us understanding of Islam so much more to remember what is Sham. So, for example, in the Quran is the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, that when he built the Kaaba, he saw that Makkah is a complete barren wasteland, desert, nothing is here. But Allah is commanding that everybody comes for Hajj, and my children, the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam, is going to live here. So he was worried, how are these people going to be sustained? So Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua for the sustenance of Makkah. Allah fulfilled this dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, but in a very, what would, to our minds would be very strange. The town of Ta'if, inshallah, I hope we have heard of it. But has it ever struck you, the word Ta'if in Arabic, does it not sound like a certain act of worship that we do by the Kaaba? Anybody knows what is this word? The Ta'if sounds like a specific word of worship that we do around by the Kaaba. Anybody? Brother Umar? Ta'if doesn't sound, ring a bell, anything. What do you do around the Kaaba? Nadeem? Tawaf, alhamdulillah. There's hope for the Ummah. Allahu Akbar. Because literally that is what Ta'if means. Ta'if literally means that which makes tawaf. And the question is, how does a whole town make tawaf? This is actually what happened. When Ibrahim a.s. completed his dua, it is written in our books of tafsir, Allah sent Jibreel alayhi salam to the land of Sham because there's so much barakah in that land. And Jibreel alayhi salam ripped out the land of Sham, the entire area of Taif. He lifted it and he made tawaf around the Kaaba. Then he went to where Taif is today, and then he dropped it. Then that barakah, that fruits, that vegetation, that fertility of Sham was transferred to there. Up till today, when you travel from Makkah to Taif, it's like you're crossing a line and suddenly the weather changes, everything changes, because that is literally what's happening. You've actually left Arabia and you're entering Sham. I'm Mufassirin, right? What is amongst the major lessons of this is that why did Allah do this? Why didn't Allah just turn Makkah green? Allah did not want any distractions in Makkah. So much so, not even greenery. So we should ask ourselves that if Allah made the system that to sustain Makkah, the food of Makkah will come from Taif so far away. Allah created that system, and the Muslims maintain that system for all these thousands of years. Only in our time have we changed that system and made Makkah into a Los Angeles and a New York. People go for Hajj and Umrah. What hotel did you stay in? How much dates did you buy? What abaya did you buy? What clothes did you buy? That is all our concern. Whereas Allah put such a system of no distractions, focus on the Kaaba, focus on the worship for Allah. There must not even be any greenery. Put that away in Taif. So much has our minds, our mentality, and our link with Allah's system been broken, and our lack of understanding. Great blessings in the people, great blessings in the land of Sham. So much blessings Allah put that even in our daily lives, there is the barakah, the blessings of Sham which affects our daily lives. Even here, even non-Muslims. One simple example, one small of the barakah of Sham. You might have learned, and if you remember, our English alphabet, system of writing comes from the Romans. But where did they get it from ultimately? First letter in Arabic alphabet is Alif. In Sham, they spoke languages close to Arabic, not Arabic. They did not say Alif, they said Aleph. They did not say Ba, they said Bet. So if you put these two letters together, Aleph, Bet, what's the English word that comes from that? Alphabet. Jazakallah, whoever was for that. Ultimately, our alphabet it comes from the people of Sham. So much as an example. So that is from the beginning of the human history, right till the coming of Mahdi, right till Qiyamah, is Sham important to us as Muslims. Why? Sham is Mahshar. What is Mahshar? The land of the resurrection. When Qiyamah comes and Allah resurrects us from our graves, yes, you buried in West Park, wherever it is, you will get resurrected from that spot. But all of mankind, from Adam alayhi salam till the last human, Allah will all gather us at the Mahshar. The Mahshar is the land of Sham. Every single person, your Mahshar will be ultimately at Sham. So important it is for us to understand this greatness and the holiness of this land of Sham, which includes, for those brothers who are late, not only Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, and the surrounds. As a Muslim, it is important to understand our link, which the Quran and Hadith In fact, not hadith here and there. Separate books have been compiled of hadith just speaking about Sham, nothing else. And we have been so colonized, we have no link and understanding with this anymore. The land of Sham was conquered in the time of our Khalifa Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Perhaps we have heard the famous incident as he enters Jerusalem, he had only one camel with him and his slave, not servant. We'll have to change our history, with his slave. Entering Jerusalem with his slave, but he took turns, because only had one camel between the two of them. The turn of the slave. So the slave sits on the camel and Umar radiallahu anhu walks. We know this. And that is famously mentioned because it is true, we should mention it, but it's also very nice to see how nice and democratic Islam is. But we like to tell half stories. What happened just before that? As Umar radiallahu anhu is approaching Jerusalem, the commanders of the Muslim armies, Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, Yazid bin Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu, they meet him and they say, Umar, we know, I'm just paraphrasing, you're a pious guy, we know you like to dress simple and your old clothes and all the patches and your camel that's like half dead. But you're going to meet now very important people, these Romans, and they are people of this world. You need to impress them. We've arranged something decent for you to wear. Just wear it for this one occasion. And there's a nice horse. Please ride on this horse just for this occasion. Umar radiallahu anhu agrees. And he puts on that clothes, he gets on that horse, he thinks for a while, he gets off, he puts on his old tattered clothes again. And he says these words which are so important to us. نحن قوم أعزنا الله بالإسلام فاحنا ابتغينا بغير الإسلام فاحنا ابتغينا العزة بغير الإسلام أذلنا الله. We were a disgraced, useless people. Allah gave us izzah, Allah gave us honor through this deen of Islam. And when that day comes, when the Muslims are going to look for honor in anything besides Islam, Allah is so going to humiliate us. Allah is so going to humiliate us. 100% the words of Umar radiallahu anhu has come true. Never mind the people of Palestine only, which we only focus, something mentioned in the media, then we only pay attention. What about the Muslims in China being driven from their homes, masajid being demolished, women not being raped? Had they been raped, astaghfirullah, forgive me, had they been raped, that would have been a small thing. Our Muslim sisters in China are being forced to marry kafir Chinese. So not just being raped once, but over and over your whole life you have to live in that filth with that kafir Chinese. But getting back to the words of Umar radiallahu anhu, how humiliated is this ummah? How humiliated is this ummah? In the beginning of this year, a delegation of ulama who have sold their souls, who have sold their deens, they go on a visit to China and they congratulated the Chinese government. What they got paid, Allah knows best. Such is the disgrace of this ummah, that you will have ulama who went to China and congratulated the Chinese government. We agree with your policies, that what you have done to the Muslims. And you quiet, not even as so much as a dua for the Muslims of China elsewhere. So much is our humiliation. This applies to the Palestinians as well. Throughout the 1960s, 70s, they turned their back away from Allah. They became communists. They became Marxists. They became atheists. Those brothers who have not made the sunnahs, please perform your sunnahs. They turned their backs from Islam. This Layla Khalid that came here and everybody ran to the airport, welcome. It's not my bad words against her. She has clearly said, I'm not a Muslim. I have no religion. And all the Muslims in Joburg run welcome to Layla Khalid, an enemy of Allah. But since the 80s, the Palestinians have turned to Allah. And what examples are they to us? Let us also remember, victory will only come that we turn towards Allah. Simple things. That death means nothing, because death, in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a bridge to join us towards Allah. You'll see the father, the Palestinian father, small children killed, doesn't faze him. Alhamdulillah, my children are martyrs. They will intercede for me on the day of Qiyamah. And our attitude, death approaches, no. The Quran describes this as an attitude of a kafir, that he wants to live 1,000 years. And even that is not enough for the kafir. When death approaches us, no, this medicine, this procedure, which we do within limits. But listen, we don't have a limit. It's like we're saying, I don't want to meet Allah. One video in particular, 2 small boys, maybe the one is 8 years old, he's completely covered in blood, he can't move, speak, only can murmur, he's definitely going to be dying soon. But looks like his older brother, maybe like 12 years old. He's not calling, doctor, come help, somebody help, ever. He's worried about this, my small baby brother's akhirah, and he's telling him, say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. That is their connection with akhirah. And these ugly words which some people say in our community. See how the Palestinians dress? They got t-shirt and jeans. Allah forgive you. If you've got nothing better to say, at least make dua. Conclude quickly also. The behavior of some of our Muslims with our Jewish neighbors, this is not the teachings of Islam. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that Jibreel alayhi salam has so emphasized the rights of my neighbors that I think he would have made my neighbors into my inheritors. On what occasion was this hadith narrated? Abdullah bin Amr bin As narrated this when he was scolding his wife, that why didn't you send food next door to our neighbors? And who was his neighbor? A Jew. This hadith was narrated speaking about a Jewish neighbor. So we stand for the truth. We stand over and above that for the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People who harass our Jewish neighbors, people who are cowards, write graffiti, that is not the teachings of Islam. Stand firm for the truth, not that which is fashionable. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Sheikh Ibrahim, besides threatening me that I need to finish on time, has also requested to remind us that masjid is being constructed for Sadaqah Jariyah. Funds are still needed. Kindly donate. Allah reward us all. Subhanallah.